So Tna Impact took place once again from Cincinnati, Ohio. The show starts with Aces and Eights coming to the ring. Bully Ray accompanied by Brooke Tessmacher, Mike Knox, and Garrett Bischoff. Bully Ray gets on the mic and gives his money line. He says that he pulls the strings that control the fans and makes them buy into whatever he's selling. Bully Ray says that it's not the number of people in the club that makes them tick, but their worth. And he shows off Brooke's ass as an example of that. He says that he doesn't need the title because everyone will still see him as the man. And Bully Ray says that Mr. Anderson tried to disrupt the group and accepts his challenge for a no disqualification match at Turning Point. He says that the next pile driver that he gives Anderson will go through the stage. Then Mr. Anderson comes out and walks to the bottom of the ramp. He says that he, as well as the fans, have had it with Aces and Eights, and when he wins the match at Turning Point, the club will be done. Bully Ray says that he would never agree to a stipulation like that. So Anderson says that since his wife is expecting twins, he will leave TNA for good if he loses so that he can be with his family. Anderson steps up onto the ring apron and Bully Ray tells him that if he could, he would pile drive Anderson's wife. He says that Anderson is out of his mind to put his career at stake. Anderson agrees and slugs Bully Ray. He propels himself over the top rope into the ring, but he is immediately ambushed by Knox and Bischoff. Bully Ray brings a chair into the ring and tells them to hold Anderson. Bully Ray comes toward Anderson, but Anderson kicks him in the midsection, causing him to drop the chair. Knox tries to clothesline Anderson, but he ducks, and Knox ends up nailing Bischoff. Then Anderson clotheslines Knox over the top rope. He picks up the chair, but Bully Ray bails out of the ring and hides behind Tessmacher. Anderson says that he'll deal with Bully Ray next week, but he wants either Knox or Bischoff in the match now. Bully Ray sends Knox in to do the job, so that leads into Mr. Anderson versus Mike Knox. Decent match. The match ends with Knox executing a vertical suplex on Anderson over the top rope from the ring apron. Knox goes for the pin, but Anderson gets his shoulder up. Knox has Anderson's head in a twisted position down on the mat, but Anderson makes it to his feet and delivers a few blows to Knox. He picks Knox up in a fireman's carry position, but Knox slips out of the hold and shoves Anderson into the ring corner. Knox charges the corner and crushes him from behind. He picks Anderson up and executes a side slam. Knox goes for the pin, but Anderson gets the shoulder up again. Knox decks him with a clothesline takedown. He drags Anderson around and follows that up with another clothesline takedown. Knox picks Anderson up off the ropes and attempts a third clothesline takedown. But Anderson counters with the mic check and gets the 3. The winner of the match, Mr. Anderson. One would think that this no disqualification match between Bully Ray and Anderson would favor Bully Ray, as it has in the past. So why would Anderson declare the stipulation? It leads to the speculation that he has a plan to take out Bischoff and Knox, one at a time, thus leaving Bully Ray by himself by the time the match takes place. The win over Knox gives Anderson the confidence that his perceived plan just might work. So then we see dumbass Joseph Park backstage challenging Christopher Daniels to a match. We then see Daniels and Kazarian backstage responding to the challenge as they still plan to seek out Abyss and the television title. And then Robert Roode joins them for some catch-up time. The only benefit that this situation with Bad Influence and Park will have is if we actually see the return of the television title. Hopefully that is the case so that it can become the secondary singles title in TNA that it should be. So then we see a video segment promoting the first round submission match in the world title tournament between Kurt Angle and Austin Aries. The video packages are one thing that TNA does well consistently, so I will give them credit for that. So then we see Christopher Daniels versus dumbass Joseph Park. So-so match. The match ends with Park securing Daniels in a fireman's carry position and delivering a Samoan drop. The two men recover and Daniels charges toward Park in the corner, but Park moves out of the way. He responds with a shoulder block, a body slam, and a side slam. He goes for the pin, but Daniels gets the shoulder up. Daniels attempts a suplex, but Park counters by delivering a suplex. He goes to the middle rope, but Daniels rolls away from him to the opposite corner. Park charges Daniels and squashes him. He delivers a series of punches until referee Earl Hebner backs him off. Park pushes Hebner away and goes back toward Daniels, but Daniels kicks him low, pushes him down, and pins him for the 3. The winner of the match, Christopher Daniels. So then we see Aces and Eights backstage. And Garrett Bischoff tells Mike Knox not to worry about losing the match to Anderson. Bully Ray backs up Bischoff and tells Knox to forget about it because they still have the advantage over Anderson because of the no disqualification rule and how well Bully Ray can manipulate the situation however he wants. Then they head to the strip club. And Bully Ray doesn't want Tessmacher to find out about it. But what if she does? So then we had Ethan Carter III versus Noah Furnham and Dewey Barnes in a handicap match. Ethan wins by utilizing the headlock driver on both jobbers. It's time to end this and move Ethan along to face the talent on the roster. It's time to end the jobber stage. TNA is not showcasing him well in the ring as they continue to have these jobbers execute high-risk maneuvers that make him look beatable. At this point, Ethan is supposed to be dominating, not being good enough to get the win. And the presentation so far does not reflect that. Put him in the ring against roster talent. Now, please. So then we see the Friends of AJ video with additional footage of AJ Styles' quote-unquote title defense against El Messias. And then we see Dixie Carter shrieking backstage at members of her production crew about the Styles video being shown on the air again. So Dixie's rant about the video airing last week resulted in absolutely nothing being done to prevent it from airing this week. And then this really badly done Impact 365 video in which she complained to Spike TV quote-unquote reps about the Styles airing resulted in nothing being done. Okay, I get it. Dixie is supposed to be a powerful bitch, but without the power. So then we see Dixie Carter come to the ring. She says that she has a natural, inborn ability that prevents her from having to prove anything to anyone. She says that she couldn't have been more perfect with such a display of this when she got rid of AJ Styles. Dixie says that the quality of the program has increased and that anyone can be replaced if the situation calls for it. She says that wrestling is a business and it's about what a wrestler is doing presently rather than what he did in the past. And Dixie says that Styles stole her world title and her car, adding that he is defending her title when he's not the champion and that her legal team will take care of him. She wants to focus on the most creative world title tournament in wrestling history. And Dixie says that last week Jeff Hardy beat somebody in the Full Metal Mayhem match. And of course she promotes the submission match later tonight. She tells the 4 men that are involved in the 2 tournament matches at Turning Point to come out. So Robert Roode, James Storm, Samoa Joe, and Magnus come to the ring. Dixie says that the Wheel of Dixie was spun earlier in order to determine the stipulations for the matches. Robert Roode and James Storm will meet in a bull rope match. Dixie says that Storm may think that he has the edge in this particular match, but she says that Roode has it because he has beaten Kurt Angle twice. And she tells Storm that he has to prove his worth to her, but he responds by saying that he doesn't have to do anything. Storm says that he has a tireless heart to go along with his redneck qualities, and that it's time for a redneck to become world champion. Dixie says that Magnus and Samoa Joe will face each other in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Joe says that he can't deal with the bullshit anymore and tells Dixie that the tournament participants are only there because Dixie was too stubborn to work with AJ Styles. And then Joe says that Dixie is using the tournament to cover up her failures as the company leader, and that when he wins the world title, AJ Styles will get the first title shot. And Dixie goes into shriek mode and tells Joe that someone else will take his place if he continues to defy her. Magnus gets on the mic and tells Joe that the reason for ending the Main Event Mafia is the basis for why they are in the tournament: the drive for competition. He says that he has to beat Joe in order to be considered the best, and that although it will be hard to do, he will do it. Dixie says that the tournament is about finding a true world champion that will support her agenda. The promos came off fairly well as a whole, with Joe shining the best. Roode not getting any mic time during this was a negative, but the entire segment was sapped of its energy by Dixie Carter. This was the longest time period that she has had with a mic in her hand, which only magnified how bad she is. TNA really needs to reevaluate this Dixie Carter heel character, because it's been 2 months and she's not improving. So then we see Mr. Anderson approaching Garrett Bischoff from behind. Bischoff turns and Anderson slugs him, which leads to an exchange of punches. Anderson gains the advantage and throws Bischoff into some production crates. Then he handcuffs Bischoff to a moving cart. Bischoff screams and Anderson tells him to shut up, adding that they need to have a conversation. So Anderson seems to be following this plan that I mentioned earlier. So then we had the women's match. Gail Kim versus Hannah Blossom. And this is the first match of Gail's Open Challenge. Okay match, considering the circumstances. The match ends with Gail applying the figure 4 leg lock on Hannah around the ring post. After the referee breaks the hold, Gail goes back in the ring and gets on all fours, allowing Hannah a chance to gain the edge. Hannah charges, but Gail sweeps her leg from under her. Gail goes for a mock pin as she gets off Hannah at the count of 1. After Gail high-fives Tapa through the ropes, Hannah does her comeback, and during that comeback, the most offensive move was a snap suplex. Nothing that made Gail look ridiculous, unlike Ethan's jobbers. Hannah whips Gail into the corner, but as Hannah charges, Gail comes out of the corner with a clothesline. She follows that with the Eat Defeat and gets the pin. The winner of the match, Gail Kim. The match served its purpose, and that was being the initial start to building up this challenge. Hannah Blossom wasn't good, but she didn't need to be. This was about pumping up Gail. Now, I would prefer not to see Hannah's sister Holly show up to challenge Gail at Turning Point. It would be natural to see that, but it would come off as being redundant since they are twins. So, the challenge has started, and now the anticipation builds as to whom will beat Gale and get the title shot. So then we see dumbass Joseph Park come to the ring. And to make this painlessly short, because of the talk about him and Abyss never being seen together, Park issues a challenge to Abyss to face him in a match. So who's going to play Abyss this time? Does it matter? For the last time, TNA, either choose Park or Abyss. If you choose one, the other must disappear permanently. So then we had the main event. First round match in the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. A submission match. Kurt Angle versus Austin Aries. As Kurt Angle comes to the ring, we go backstage and see Garrett Bischoff still handcuffed to the moving cart. As Mr. Anderson undoes the cuff, he tells Bischoff that he had the chance to be his own individual, but yet he continued to follow Bully Ray's program. Anderson picks him up, lifts him up in a fireman's carry position, and walks off. We go back to the ring and the match begins. Good match, although it could have been a better match. During the match, Robert Roode decides to come out and sit on the stage. The match ends with Angle lifting Aries onto the top turnbuckle in a reverse position. Angle goes up to the middle rope and attempts to deliver a belly-to-back suplex, but Aries gives him an elbow that knocks him back down to the mat. Angle gets up and jumps back onto the middle rope and tries to suplex Aries again. Aries holds onto the top turnbuckle, which sends Angle falling back to the mat. Aries turns around and comes off with a 450 that misses as Angle rolls out of the way. Angle picks Aries up for the Angle Slam, but Aries disrupts it and takes hold of Angle on the mat. Aries tries to execute a vertical suplex, but Angle counters by kicking him in the midsection and attempting another Angle Slam. However, Aries does a reverse arm drag. Aries charges toward Angle in the corner shoulder first, but Angle moves out of the way, causing Aries to hit the ring post. Angle takes Aries down to the mat and applies the crossface. Aries taps out. The winner of the match, Kurt Angle. Angle will face the winner of the Magnus Samoa Joe match in the other semifinal. Roode is upset that Angle used his move to win, and the two start yelling at each other. Suddenly, Mr. Anderson drags Garrett Bischoff out and pile drives him on the stage. Angle and Roode lock eyes on each other. Show ends. Understandably, the interaction between Roode and Angle wasn't going to be as physically intense as it was last week, but the psychological continuation that TNA attempted to do with their build was quickly smothered by Anderson pile driving Bischoff. The Anderson Bully Ray angle didn't need this additional juice. In fact, this should have been saved until Turning Point because it would have been more dramatic at that time. Anderson's action took the attention away from Roode and Angle, and although it didn't decrease the flames, it took away the opportunity to increase the fire. At Turning Point, will the dying fire that is Aces and Eights finally be put out for good? I'm Tazmark 2002, and that was my TNA Impact Analysis for November 14th, 2013. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please leave your comments below, click the like or dislike button, and if you subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening to me on the Wrestling News Talk Facebook page, you can leave your comments below and click the like button if you like what I've been saying. If you have any comments or questions about TNA or wrestling in general, you can reach me at Tazmark2002 on Twitter. That's TAZMARK2002. And if your comments exceed the 140, get at me with an email. tasmart2002@gmail.com. And be sure to listen to the TNA Impact review that I do with Chuck P live every Friday morning at 11:30 Eastern Time on Chuck P's channel. And this week, Carl Cleveland will be joining us as we give our takes on Turning Point. So check us out. Solid show. Solid show. This week's special themed episode of TNA Impact, Turning Point, will be TNA's return to Universal Studios in Orlando. Most fans didn't want to see this happen, and they don't like the move because it's a step back. Understandable, but with a new creative direction and a return to a familiar location comes a rebirth. A rebirth that will hopefully place TNA at a higher point 1 year from now. However, if that new creative direction is accompanied by the same decisions on issues that we've seen, or in some cases haven't seen, where they are won't be as significant as where are they. I'm Tasmart 2002, gone.